Okay, everybody, I am back and we can continue on with the build. Yeah, I apologize for that, but you know what? I needed to get something to eat anyway, so yeah. So hopefully everything's still back in sync. Is my audio still in sync? I hope that we're picking it up right where we left off. And we'll wait for some folks to join us. So right now I'm just waiting for a little confirmation that audio is in sync. Thanks you guys for coming back. We're not in sync, or are we in sync? We're out of sync. Okay, let me restart OBS. I'll be right back. All right, let's try this and see if we're in sync now. When the audio goes out of sync, I have to stop the stream, close OBS, and then I reopen OBS and restart the stream, and we'll see if we're in sync now. Appreciate your help with that. Now we should be cooking. All right, very good. Thank you guys, I appreciate your help there. Now, where were we? We just finished prepping the motherboard, and now the motherboard can be installed into the case. And much of this can be moved out of the way now. I can move this documentation back here. We'll just set this back here. And I'll leave my glasses back there because I'm gonna need them again. We should be done with this screwdriver, this documentation. Actually, the parts for the Mugen cooler, the spare parts, I'm gonna get a Ziploc bag and I'm gonna put that all in a separate bag. Yeah, I'll put the documentation in there. I'll put the extra thermal compound, the AMD brackets, the extra fan stuff, the extra standoffs, and then the extra wire hangers for the fan. And close that up. And we will get to these wire tie, those nylon zip ties. I'll be using those here in a bit. So I'll just put all this back over here for right now until we get to that. But all the documentation, all that will eventually go into the motherboard box, and then that will be shipped along with the computer, along with the screwdriver, back to the customer. Now, let's take a look here. So what I've got remaining, I've got some standoffs here we're not going to need. I've got, these are going to be the motherboard mounting screws. Yes, those are motherboard mounting screws. These are fan screws, more fan screws, and these are for like SSDs and optical drives. So the rest of these we're not going to use for this build, so we'll set those back here and get them out of the way. Keep our work area nice and clean. And let's see here. So with the motherboard ready to be installed, I'm going to lay the case flat. And let's see, Tony Wallows contributed $1.99. Hey, Tony, thank you very much. And yeah, we're just going to keep working here. Now, I'm going to just set this aside. I need to get the, well, I guess I can work on the Lazy Susan as long as I lock it down so it doesn't spin. Yeah, I'd rather not. You know, it's just kind of a, it's times when that helps and it's times when it hinders. So I'm just going to move it aside so I can lay this case flat and just wipe this counter clean a little bit. There's some rubber on the bottom of that Lazy Susan and it seems to be coming off onto my countertop for some reason. So we'll get that cleaned up. And yeah, let's go ahead and lay the case down and bring it around here. unlock this. And we've already got our I/O shield installed there. So I'm going to grab the motherboard by the heatsink. It's a great safe place to pick up your motherboard. It's really secured. It ain't going to fall off. And you don't have to worry about any anti-static or electrostatic discharge happening. So I'm going to pick it up with the I/O ports facing out, and I'm going to set it down in here. And I have to move the power supply cables out of the way. And this rear case fan cable always gets in the way. And then you usually have to tilt the back of the board up to get these to align, and then push it forward and set it down, which is what I'm about to do right now. So I'm just looking to see that these holes are all lined up properly, and they are. And then I'm going to push towards you guys. And then the board just seats perfectly. Yeah, it's seated perfectly, but this board does have a little plastic. This is one of those boards that Gigabyte has the extra mounting hole that the case doesn't support. So I'm coming back here to my office to get a little plastic standoff. Here's one. And this is not required by any stretch of the imagination. It's just because I have them, and it makes me feel good to use them instead of throw them away. But this is how we used to install motherboards back in the 90s. We used to have these little plastic standoffs. And the case, the back of the case would have these notches and grooves, and it'd slide into the groove and lock in. And usually one screw held the board. So what I do is I cut that little nub off right there. And now it's a little flat table right there, see? And what I can do is take the board back out. And the extra mounting hole that I'm talking about is right in the middle. You see there's two holes close together, but there's no other hole that lines up. You see how that mounting hole right there, it lines up with that one, it lines up with that one. Right there. Nothing goes this far into the board other than that one. So I'm just going to take this little standoff and push it in there, and that'll just support the board where there's no screw. Again, not necessary at all. I just happen to have them, and it makes me feel better, you know, to give them a second life. So once again, we'll line up these I/O ports, push the board forward, and it should seat down, and it did. And I'm going to need 5 screws to secure that, and for that I'm going to use the coarse thread screws. So we'll pull out 5 of those. There we go. And I'll put these away. Now normally I would recommend you turn these screws with a manual screwdriver. This is your motherboard after all. As a professional IT technician who's built well over 30,000 computers, I'm pretty confident. Confidence is the worst thing, by the way, but I'm pretty confident about using my cordless driver that I'm not going to cross thread the screws. And I do have a clutch on this that shuts this driver off when the clutch setting is hit. So I don't have to worry about over torquing the screws. But the screws don't have to be torqued to any specific specification. But it just makes me feel good to know that all the screws are tightened exactly the same. There is no order that you have to follow with regards to installing any of the components except the heatsink. So the screws can go in any order you want to put them in. This area is going to be a little bit tight. Yeah, this isn't going to fit. That's not going to fit. So for that, maybe this driver will work, the one that came with the cooler. There's also that 8-pin CPU power cable, which is going to be a bear to put on. So I might have to take this back out to do that, now that I'm seeing it. In fact, I think I'm not going to put that last screw in just yet, because I'll show you what I'm talking about if I... Ow, what just got me? That really hurt. It was like a metal burr. It's like a metal splinter right in the side of my thumb. I don't usually get that on a Corsair case. I must have just got it at the right angle. Bit me. It bit me. So what I'm talking about is I've got to get a cable right up there, and it's gonna be this cable right here. So I'm going to run that out right now and see if I'm able to do this or if I'm going to have to take the board out to do it. So depending on the board you use, and of course the case that you use, it's and the size of your hands and dexterity, you just sort of have to figure it out. And there's a stubborn part of me that just wants to prove a point that I don't have to take the board out, but it's a pretty stupid reason because the board is super easy to take it out. And it's just too tight for me to get in there. So I am gonna take the screws back out because it's just gonna save me time. I can struggle with that for 20 minutes or I can take the board out in 3 minutes. I can have the board out, plugged in, and put back in 3 minutes. There we go. So that's all it takes to get the board out. And what I'm going to do is just lift the back of the board and slide it out. Then I'm going to grab that 8-pin CPU power connector and I'm going to go ahead and connect it now. And it's a little easier. It's not a whole lot easier because I'm still limited with how much cable I've got. Gosh, that really hurt. I don't know if it's in my skin or if it's just something that poked me. Anyway, stuff like this sometimes helps to have an extra set of hands. You can tilt the board up if you want to, or that's not going to work for me either. Let's see if I can do it like this. Now this board has an 8-pin CPU power cable, which is basically 2 4-pin cables put together. And you can put them on together at the same time, or you can put one on and then the other one. It just kind of depends on the motherboard and the power supply, the length of the cable, the style of the case. The I/O shield cover sort of gets in the way of what I'm trying to see. If you guys don't think you can see anything, I can't see anything either. I'm actually working kind of blind here. I know it's supposed to go on right around here. There. Okay, so now I've got that cable on, and I can lower the motherboard back down. I need to get that rear case fan cable out of the way, and then we'll bring it in. Once again, I want to line up these ports, make sure they all line up correctly. Push the board towards the back, and then it'll seat straight down. Now I can put these screws back in. Now I will tell you that when you reach a part of the board, like in this case, it can be very difficult. I can lift this up and show you. For this particular heatsink on this board, there is a mounting hole for the board in this upper corner. And this driver can't get in deep enough. So I do have an extension. It's strange to me that a 6-inch number 2 Phillips bit isn't long enough. And it does happen on occasion, and it's mainly because of that big heatsink. And trust me, the big heatsink is worth this couple extra minutes of effort. And it's just a matter of grabbing a socket extension, which I have another 6-inch socket extension, which gives me a full 12 inches of reach into the back of the case. Now I'll be able to get in there. So I can take that screw right there. This is the final one, and it's got to go way up in that corner, right up there. That's it. The screw does get a little wobbly, if you notice. So I have to sort of hold it steady when I'm doing it. Once it's locked onto the screw, it'll spin straight, and then I don't want to use this any longer than I have to for that reason. But it's a nice little thing to have around. I don't even have to replace it because even my little magnet that goes in there is coming out, which is a shame. And then now it won't even, oh, is that it? Yeah, see, it's sticking to the bottom. So I'm going to throw the little magnet out. Unfortunately, it's just not going to do it for me. And I'll probably just have to buy another one of these little 6-inch bit extensions. Yeah, it seems like it's holding it okay. But they didn't glue the magnet in there very good. And that's why that happens. And that's pretty unusual that I have to get out an extension that long. And it's just the one screw on that particular design. And, you know, if you build a computer using different parts or a different case or a different heatsink, it may require nothing special like that. It may just all go in without any bit extension at all. I've certainly built plenty of computers with just one screwdriver, but this one I needed a different screwdriver for the M.2 screw, and then I needed that extension for that other screw there. Now I can go ahead and hook up the power cable to the motherboard. That's this big cable here, and I'm going to run that out through the back, and then we'll bring it up right here. And I need all these front port umbilicals removed, so I'm going to go ahead and just remove this wire tie now. It helps to keep them tied up and out of the way until the board is installed. And now I can just pull all this through so it doesn't crowd up my the rest of the installation process here. There we go. We'll take that and we'll plug that right on. It only goes in one direction and there's only one place that it fits. And at this point, I guess I can hook up this rear case fan. It's not really important, but we can just take care of it now. Let's see, where can we plug this in? Well, of course, there's a plug right up under that, which is going to be very difficult, but I think those forceps will work. So let me grab those forceps. Now, there's probably other fan headers I can use. I don't have to use that one, but it'll be the most aesthetically pleasing once all the cable management is done. In fact, I won't even be able to cable manage it while it's plugged in. I'll have to take this back off later if everything's working, so I can nylon zip tie this wire to the appropriate length. So this is going to be on here just temporarily for testing. That was easy. That went right on. And then there is that Gigabyte G connector that'll help us with the front port connectors, the front port switches and LEDs. And that's in this little package right here. And I've used these before. You don't have to use this connector, but if you do, I think it's worth the investment of a few minutes it takes to set it up, because then you can just simply plug all of your switches and LEDs on one plug instead of 4. So back here, if I grab those 4 cables and I run them down through here, these are the 4 cables that represent your hard drive LED, your power LED, your power switch, and your reset switch. And all I need to do is line those up where it says so on each side of this connector. So this connector is going to specify, if it'll focus, if I put it by my face. This connector is going to specify where each wire goes, positive and negative on both sides. And you only use half of it. There's only 4 wires. It's not like you're filling the whole thing up. And we'll start with the hard drive LED. And then below that is the reset switch. I want to make sure everything is untangled right now so I don't have to pull them back out. And then above the hard drive LED is the power LED, and then above the reset switch is the power switch. So we just turn it around to the other side. Once again, untangle the cable now when you have an opportunity to do so. Power switch goes above the reset switch, just like this one will go here. And then the final one we've got is the power LED, which is split. That's because some motherboards, they have a 3-pin power LED, and some boards have a 2. A lot of boards have both, but this is going to want to use 2. Positive cable always goes towards the outer edge, and it goes above the positive cable of the hard drive LED below it. And that is our front port umbilicals right there, and it's simply going to plug on this connector, and that's one plug instead of putting all them on separately. So if I have to work on it in the future, I need only pull that one plug out, which is pretty convenient. Then we've got the USB 3 cable here, and that is going to go, there's 2 USB 3s on this board, which is really nice. I like when the manufacturers are giving you 2 of those. And it's a pretty unique looking plug. It only goes on one way, and it doesn't matter which one you use. You want to use the top one or the bottom one, it will work equally as well. Or if you have other USB 3, like a memory card or something else you're plugging in, it doesn't matter which one you plug into. Finally, I've got the audio header here, which, as I look back here, I can run this. Oh, how do I want to run this? I could go this way. Yeah, we'll go right through right there. Because that power supply is so short, I can actually sneak it right through a little hole near the power supply. And in the bottom left, or usually in the left quadrant of most motherboards, is your front port audio header. And it'll usually say audio on it, and there's a pin missing and a pin blocked on the plug, so it can only plug in on one direction. Here it looks like the missing pin is on the bottom. Kind of looks like it has a missing tooth. And that gets all the front switches and ports already all plugged in. That's all done. And we're ready for our very first test fire. Now, I'm not going to hook up the front fan yet, and I'm not going to hook up the optical drive yet, because I want to make sure everything we've done so far is functional. I will secure with a 1 screw on each side that optical drive, because this is being shipped. If it wasn't being shipped anywhere, I really wouldn't need to worry about that. You know, it's fine for if you're building it yourself for your house, you know, you're not taking it anywhere. It locks in place, it's fine. Shipping can be pretty harsh, and that's the reason why I want to make sure a screw on each side is there to secure that so it doesn't come free and break over the laziness of not putting in 2 little tiny screws. You know, this is a fun process, and you shouldn't be in a big hurry to do it. You shouldn't be anxious. You should really take your time and enjoy your build. So for us to test fire this now, I need a keyboard and mouse. So I'll grab this keyboard and this mouse. There's a little Wi-Fi wireless dongle rather right down here. And I'll plug it into the USB 3 port, and we'll test that at the same time. Make sure the switch on the mouse and keyboard are turned on because they are wireless. And then I need to get a power cable, and we're going to plug the power cable in. And I want to make sure that the power supply switch is in the off position for safety reasons. So we'll plug into the wall, switch is off, and this will plug in just like that. Let me get this motherboard box out of the way. There we go, very good. Do you mind if I use your monitor? I don't have a monitor here, so I need to borrow yours for a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this computer's video output right into your monitor. I'm the only guy who has 700 monitors plugged into his computer, and I can't see any of them. But that's it. That's all we want to do on our first test fire, is just make sure we have the bare minimum of equipment installed. We want to make sure that the lights, the power light comes on. We want to see this fan spin. We want to see the rear fan spin. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch you over to that video input feed, which right now says no signal because the computer's off. There's no signal coming out of it. And I'm going to hit that button and nothing's happening because the power supply switch is off, right? So let's reach back here, flip that power supply switch to on, and let's see what happens. Power light comes on. That means I got that LED on in the right place. Both fans are spinning. Things are starting to happen. Allow up to 90 seconds for your first boot to take place. The system is waking up from the factory, and it's recognizing what CPU you decided to put in it, what RAM you decided to put in it. And let's wait and see what it does. And hopefully it'll do something. I want to make sure my cable's in all the way. Yeah, cable's good. It says reboot and select proper boot device. That's what you want to see. That's because we don't have any format on that brand new M.2 drive. It has not been formatted, partitioned, or had any operating system installed. I mean, they don't know if you're using that M.2 for Linux or for a Mac or for Windows. They don't know. So the manufacturers, everybody uses the same equipment. It's how they use it that's different. So when you get a brand new hard drive, it's completely empty. You can't start Windows with it. You have to install Windows on it. So what I want to do now is I want to check the BIOS version of this board and see if there's a new BIOS available. So once again, I'll turn it back on. And I'm going to hit the delete key repeatedly. And I want to see what version BIOS I have. And apparently I've missed the opportunity, or I turn the... Let's try again. Oh, you know what? I'm going to plug into the back. Those front USB ports may not be working. So I'm just going to plug into the back. Let's see if that works any better. There we go. I'll check that in a minute. Let's do first things first. Let's take a look at what BIOS version we've got. It says here we're running version F8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse the internet. I'm going to go to Google. And in Google, I'm going to type Z370 XP BIOS, and the first link it takes me to is Gigabyte's website. I'm going to click on support, and under downloads I'm going to scroll for Windows 10 64-bit as the OS, and then look under BIOS, and it shows F13 is the latest BIOS. So I'm going to download that. I'm doing that on the streaming computer, which is why you're not able to see it right now. And then I'm going to extract those files from the zip file I just grabbed. And I'm going to put that onto a flash drive. Just a little cheap flash drive. You don't need much. So we'll extract, browse, go to the flash drive, select it. And then that extracts the file I just downloaded, which has the latest BIOS. You don't install every BIOS. You only install the latest. It doesn't matter how many versions or how many different versions there were between what you've got and what is the latest. You only grab the latest one. So with that done, I can eject that flash drive, which I have right here. And I've labeled it, you know, it says BIOS, so I only use this for BIOSes. And I'm going to go ahead and plug it in the back, right, like so. And let me go to my video feed. I'm seeing a delayed feed here. And let's go to... wrong mouse. Let's go to this one. Should be a Q flash right there. Update BIOS. Whoops. Right there is the name of our, not that one. Yep, that one right there is the right one. And just hit enter. And now it's updating. We just wait here a minute while that completes. This will just take a moment. When you're updating a BIOS, it's important you leave the computer alone. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to go put these forceps back. You should be done with them for a little while. The reason I install the latest BIOS is to address any problems that the latest BIOS fixes. The last thing I want is for the customer to receive the system and the customer has a problem weeks or months ahead of time, in the future. And it turns out that problem could have been completely avoided if we had updated the BIOS right from the get-go. So this is a preventive and proactive technique. Instead of being reactive and only installing it if I need it, I want to install it so I don't need it. Rossagul666 says, loving the videos, Mr. Whipple. So Mr. Whipple was a screen name I used in the 1980s when I used to log into bulletin board systems, and not too many people know that. So who are you? Do I know you from those days? We're just about done updating the BIOS. It's going to reboot all on its own. It's going to do that right about now. Once again, I'm not touching anything. The system may turn itself on and off a couple of times. Just again, leave it. And be patient while the system does what it needs to do. It's turning on and off behind me. I can hear it clicking. And that's normal. Don't freak out. There it is, just like I said. So everything we've done so far is working, and we can continue the build. But before I do, now that I have the motherboard installed, oh, still turned off again. So it's still updating, by the way. That's why it's doing that. So it wasn't done yet, which is why you don't touch it. It'll give me the BIOS, or it'll say no boot device, and that's when you know it's done. There we go. And so now it should tell us that we're on the latest BIOS version, F13. And with that, I can take this flash drive out and I can delete all the files on it, because you never update the BIOS twice. Once you've done it, it's done. So what I wanted to do earlier, let me flip you back over here to the main camera. This is a fan that came out of a brand new NZXT case. And you can see it's fine, but it won't spin on its own. So like right now, the system's running. And if I plug this fan in, and you shouldn't be working on a system with the power running, but I've got years of experience, and it's actually turning on its own now. Hold on. It doesn't always turn on its own. It seems to be working now. Okay, now it's not working. See that? It's plugged in. If I give it a little kick, it starts to go. So what's causing that? Well, these fans are pretty uncomplicated, but I will tell you, they're so inexpensive to replace. The amount of time and labor it takes to work on one could buy you 15 of these at American labor prices. And that's why you really don't see Americans, quote unquote, fix anything, because everybody's in a hurry and labor is the most expensive. Labor is about 3 times the cost of parts when we're talking about car repair. And you want that labor to be as cheap as possible, so you have them swap the parts out, get you back up on the road, and a swapped part with a new part. The new part has a brand new warranty. The swap part does, a repaired part rather, usually has a far more limited warranty. So here on the fan, on the back of the fan, there's a sticker on this support side of the fan that doesn't spin. And let me take it back. We want to go in from the spinning part. We want to go in from here, and that's going to require peeling that label off. So for that, we want to get some kind of a tool and try and peel that label off. And this is another reason why I don't want to repair a fan. There's no way I can get that label back on. You can see how that label just peels up. Just right there. You see that? Well, I'm only getting half the label up. The white part is part of the label. And be careful, you do need to use something sharp to get up under there. And you don't want to cut yourself. I wouldn't think you would. You see how slippery it is. Probably best to always move the knife in a direction away from you. Now, I'm not going to reuse that sticker, so I don't really care. I just want to remember, everything's about time here. You're going to move quickly. Sometimes you're lucky and the whole sticker just comes right up. I did not get lucky. And where I want to get to is the very middle. This one looks a little different than what I've seen before. Now normally there's a center part here that comes out, but it looks like this case fan, I guess is what I'm trying to say, from NZXT has a slightly different design than what I'm accustomed to seeing. And again, it's really not worth my time to even explore this, but for educational reasons, just to give you guys an idea, especially if you're just doing work for yourself, then time is a different value than if somebody's paying you by the hour. Okay, I'm just going to throw that out. And what I have here, if you look closely, I think there's a small clip holding that on. Try to remember which side we take off. It's been a while. Maybe it is the back. Maybe I've got it wrong. Let's take off the back. Like I said, I just don't do this. So I think I had it right the first time when I was trying to get it off from the back. I just hope this sticker will be a little more cooperative. Come on. If I don't find the solution, yeah, this sticker's doing the same thing. If I don't find the solution in the back, then I have to take the fan off anyway. So once again, I would not sell a brand new computer to somebody with a fan that I've had to repair. The manufacturers will replace that fan under warranty. They won't even ask you to send the old one back. It costs more in shipping and packing than the fan is worth. So if you're under warranty, and technically, you could say you've got a bad fan when you don't and get a free spare one, but all that's going to do is raise the price of the case for everybody else in the future if everybody does that, because they don't ask for the old one back. So it's kind of an honor system when it comes to that. But it is a very inexpensive part. I don't think the manufacturers pay more than about $3 or $4 for these. Okay, I think that will do it. So here on the back side of the motor, there's an access, should be an access, like a plug back here. And that plug should be able to be removed. Sometimes they have to be drilled out. It depends on the design of the fan. And again, if you're dealing with sharp tools, you'd be very careful. It's very easy to hurt yourself. And then you really regret just not buying a new fan, because there's a lot less danger and self-harm putting a new fan in than repairing a fan just because of that. See, that looks like it's completely sealed. I can't seem to get an edge on it at all. On the Corsair fan I worked on, just a little access thing just popped right out. It was a lot easier. Even the sticker came right off. Yeah, it just doesn't want to come up. It just can't seem to get on. Yeah, it's just maybe not serviceable. It may be glued in there. So what I can do is I can hit it with a drill, and I can drill that through. It was probably, it's either a plug that's in there really tight or it's glued in there, because it's not moving, it's not budging. And messing around with this knife, you know, the last thing I want to do is cut myself when I'm trying to teach you a lesson. And knives, they do slip, you know, it's because they're a little slippy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a drill. We're going to drill that front out of it. But you got to be careful. Don't drill in too deep or you'll hit the motor. We just want to drill out the plug. And that means I won't have a replacement plug to put in there to cover for the dust. But I have no intention on putting this back together. I just want to see if there's any obvious reason why it's broken, because it's going into the garbage can one way or the other. So I have nothing to lose, and it's worth the educational value of it. But believe me, even if I fix it, I will not put that fan in service, not even on my own rig. They're just too inexpensive compared to the price of the computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab kind of a small size drill bit here. And we'll just go right through here. Okay. Then I'm going to grab the next couple sizes up. And let's try this one right here. See if that'll work for us. And with that, maybe now I can pry that cap out. I just don't know. I need like a small screwdriver. It'd be a lot easier to use that, a lot safer than a knife. Come on. Wow. Wow. There was no way I was going to get that plug out. No. It's like molded in there. You can see what a mess that makes for, you know, a $7 fan. It's ridiculous. Oops, I think that's the C-clip that holds that in place. Yeah, I'll put that over here. I just want to go all the way around it and just try and free up as much of that as possible so I can see what is going on in here. Now this is where the knife would be good so I can scrape at those edges. Yeah, that's a little difficult even with the knife. So I think the other thing I can do is just maybe try the screwdriver on a different angle, come at it this way. There's a whole piece of it that just is not coming up. It's not a good, it's definitely not a serviceable fan design. It is intended to be thrown away. You know, its design certainly implies that. So I'm going to grab the biggest drill bit I've got. See if I can't widen that opening up a bit more so I can see inside. But this is destroying the fan. We're absolutely destroying this in the name of science. Science! Okay. Again, you got to be careful. You don't want to go down into that motor with the drill bit or you have a whole new problem. So what I'm looking for in here is anything that doesn't belong in it, something in the factory, some debris or something that fell in there when they were assembling the fan. There's a lot of goop in there. There's a lot of plastic debris from the drilling. And for that, I've got a little dental pick set I can use. And I can just kind of scrape at it. This ought to be good. Let's try this one. You know, it's quite possible that what was causing this fan to not spin was the way that it's designed. It looks like it goes right up against the bushing on the fan, like it's just too close to it. Now, I don't know if that's because of the drill or if that's how it came from the factory, but there's not much room in there, not much room for play. Very tight. Never seen one like that. But I'll show you what I'm looking at here. And if you look inside the fan, you'll see the spindle. And I can move the fan forward and backward a little bit, and you'll see that little post. It gets a little recessed. And I think something is just bound up in there, and it's hard for me to really see exactly what it is unless we pull the fan off entirely. So just for grins and giggles, I'm just going to plug this fan in right now and see if it spins freely, if I will have, you know, perhaps jostled it enough, if that was what was causing the problem. No, it's still not right. It won't spin on its own. So it could have a bad startup capacitor. Again, if I give it a little kickstart, it starts to turn. But it's definitely not turning fast enough. That's way too slow. You know, if you look at the rear fan, that rear fan's really booking. This fan, you can almost watch the blades turn. It's going so slow. So I'm not exactly sure. But well, this wasn't the best example. The Corsair fan that I took apart was a much better example because it came apart very easily, and the problem was very obvious. But, you know, the amount of time that I've already spent on this, if I'm getting paid $20 an hour or whatever, it's already bought another fan with a warranty and no mess. And that's why you won't see me repair a lot of things. You don't see Americans repair a lot of things because that darn labor cost. Also, it seems like there's a shortage of repair people in general in the United States. So there's often a waiting list. You see how busy I am, right? And I'm trying to help as many people as possible. And not only does it save people money, but you can help people faster. And the economy in the United States is set up in such a way that, or it's become set up in such a way that we can get these parts out of a underdeveloped nation for pennies, and it gives them work that they wouldn't have otherwise. And it becomes an economy of part swappers with the assurance of a new warranty on a brand new part versus dealing with a repair that wasn't done correctly and having to bring something in repetitively to have it fixed right. And that helps reduce the odds of that occurring when you're swapping out with a new part. It still requires that the person doing the service installs the part correctly, obviously. But when you add in the fact that they're going to rebuild that part, it also adds an opportunity for additional failure. Also, limited warranty. You usually get 30 days on a repair. You get a year usually on something new. And so that's why we do it that way in America. It's not a question of not having the knowledge. It's a question of not having the time. And so that's why when you take your car to get something repaired, they actually replace whatever it is. My buddy Subaru Mike just had a transmission go out on his daughter's car. And it's a Buick. It's not a car he works on. And he doesn't work on transmissions. But for what that would cost to repair that transmission would be around 2 weeks' time and about $1,300. There's numerous clutches and gears and spacers that have to be. It's very intricate when you look at an automatic transmission, especially on a front-wheel drive car. So he went to a junkyard and found a wrecked car that had a perfectly good transmission, bought that transmission for $140, unbolted the old transmission, bolted up the new transmission, and had the car done in a few hours. Instead of waiting weeks and spending thousands of dollars, it cost him $140 in a couple hours of his time. Is he an idiot because he's fixed it quickly? And the new transmission or the used transmission out of the junkyard only had 50,000 miles, 50, versus the transmission that was in the car was at like 130,000 miles. So he got not a new transmission, but a well-tested transmission. And because that transmission was working before and nobody's opened it or worked on it, it's probably going to run another 100,000, no problems. It's fast. And he was able to fix multiple cars on that day instead of just one. And that's just how it works. I will say a buddy of mine has been into fixing Sea-Doos and jet skis. And apparently where he lives in Tennessee, it's pretty hard to find somebody who knows how to do that stuff. And people with boats and jet skis, they have money. So it's not like they want you to nickel and dime it. They just want it done right. And he's considering getting out of the computer repair business. He and I grew up together. Well, I met him when I was about 19 years old, and we've been friends ever since. And we were both into cars, and then we both got into computers, and he's still really heavily into cars. That's his hobby. He enjoys doing it. He's got some very nice vehicles. He's been much more successful in the computer business than I have been, and so he's been able to afford some pretty nice cars. That being said, he's really enjoying working on the cars as a hobby, and boat engines aren't really much different. And he bought a couple of jet skis cheap because they didn't work, and he thought, you know, how hard could it be? He fixed them. He had some learning along the way, and somebody saw him fixing them and said, hey, could you fix mine? And before you know it, he says, Carey, if you ever want to move to Tennessee and go back to fixing cars with me, you're welcome here. And I was like, that's really tempting. He's like, you have no idea. There's like nobody here who knows how to do it. There's like one guy in town, and people pay. You know, they're not nickel and diming you. They're paying. They're desperate to find somebody who can do it. Now, do those people care, you know, what the process is to getting that jet ski up and running or getting that boat? They don't care. As long as it's up and running as cheaply as possible, as quickly as possible, and they don't have to bring it back anytime soon, that's a happy customer, and that's a sustainable business model. So there's plenty of opportunity for work if you're looking for work, if you're a tinkerer, if you're somebody who likes to whether it's electronics or you know, something mechanical, whatever it is, there's you know, I have to turn away work. It's crazy how many people simply don't want to work. I had a friend of mine tell me that he's on disability and he's got the government underneath his thumb, under his thumb. And I'm like, you're not getting away with anything. If you're collecting disability when you shouldn't be because you don't want to go to work, congratulations, I guess. I don't know what weird satisfaction you get from doing nothing all day, but I much prefer to do something, you know, to accomplish something, to help other people. And I think my friend is very depressed, but he thinks he's clever because he got on disability. Okay, you know, it's your life. Anyway, so I'm going to put Windows 10 on this box now. So I've got my flash drive here with Windows 10 on it, and we'll turn the machine off, plug the Windows 10 flash drive in right here, and we'll turn this back on. And it's going to boot to that flash drive because it doesn't have a choice. So let's switch back over to that video input and see what it's doing. There we go. Next, install. So before I put the graphics card in, and before I hook up the optical drive, before I do any more work, I want to make sure I can install Windows OK, and we'll get that updated. I'll click I don't have a product key right here. And this is going to be Windows 10 Pro that I'll have a key for later. And accept the license agreement, hit next. There should only be one place to install. Always choose custom. And that's the only place available is that Samsung 970 Pro, which is 512 gigs. Which is displayed as 476 because of the way Microsoft does it. It's still the same number, it's just how they do the math. Okay, what have I been missing in the chat while we're waiting here? Steve Devine says, I really like your videos with Subaru Mike. Yeah, me too, thank you. A lot of fake folks in the chat room seem to be hung up on recycling. And it really varies depending on where you live. Like if you're in England, England's a fairly small island, really. And so space is of a major concern, and any sort of debris or buildup and recycling makes a big impact, an immediate noticeable impact on the entire island. I would imagine Hawaii would be the same way. But the United States is huge, and people in the United States are generally very lazy. They throw trash out the window of their car. I don't do it, and it upsets me when I see people do it. They throw their cigarette butts wherever they're standing. They drop whatever. They could be literally standing next to a trash can, and they can't be bothered to take their fast food wrapper and reach over. They'll just drop it right next to the trash can. They don't care. And so it is a little troubling when I see people watch my videos, and you see me throw a fan away, and you get your panties in a bunch that wasn't recycled. There's no recycling center near me. If I put that fan in a recycling bin, the city can fine me for that because it corrupts the materials that are in the recycle bin. Someone has to separate that out. So it can go into the garbage can. Or the city of Glendale will take electronics recycling. If you want to get in the car and drive for a half an hour to the city dump and show your license, they will take all your recycling for free. But then I'm going to burn how much in gas and how much am I doing to the environment to just save one fan? I don't have a big enough house where I can store this stuff. I can't wait until I have a load big enough to make that drive worthwhile. So your culture of where you live, and it can be even within the United States. For example, New York is a very crowded area, and there's a lot of people, and it doesn't take long for that trash to pile up or for recycling to add up. But Arizona, you know, the western United States, is big, wide open spaces. There's no bottle deposits. People throw cans. I pick up cans out of the street because I can take those cans to an aluminum recycler and make $30 or $40 when I fill up my bin full of cans. It's worth doing. And the city will recycle cardboard and newspaper and things like that, but they absolutely do not want glass, and they do not want electronics in the recycled containers. And it doesn't make any sense, as I've already mentioned, to drive that distance and waste a precious resource of gasoline, put miles on my car, to recycle a computer or a fan. So usually what I do when I have an old computer is I give it to a friend of mine who actually soaks the stuff in materials that can rip the gold traces off. He has time for that. I don't have time for it. So I bring him all my old stuff. But a fan is mostly plastic. There's not much electronics in there. And I just toss it away. Now, if the city provided us a way to, you know, put that in a recycled container for electronics, I would certainly do that. But your assumption that the city provides that, your assumption that even if the city provided it, the people in Arizona would use it when they don't even use garbage cans. They just don't use them. If you walk down the street of my house, you could fill up an entire garbage bag of trash walking 3 blocks, just picking up stuff in people's yards. They're just the culture of the West, unfortunately. So that's why another reason I want to go back to Michigan, where people just don't behave that way. It does bother me. All right, so now we can choose our country here. So we're going to be US with a US keyboard, no secondary layout. And we're going to skip hooking it up to the internet for right now. Okay, this is going to go to, oh, what's his name? I think his name is John. Let me just double check. Yeah, his name is John. Okay. Hey, Tony, thank you for the contribution. Let's not do Cortana. Tucson offers 2 pickups a year for anything. So here we have something called bulk trash pickup. And at the end of every month, you can take items like old furniture or large items that are too big to fit in a garbage can, and you can set it out at the curb. And our immigrant community, we have such a large immigrant community, anything you set out at the curb, usually within 24 hours will be taken. Not by the city, but by the immigrants. Something that you think is trash, they will take it. It's an amazing service. Now, that being said, I can't hold on to stuff waiting for a twice-a-year pickup. I don't have a house big enough to store in weight, unless this twice-a-year pickup is something you can schedule and have them come to you. But even then, they're not going to come out to pick up one computer fan. Again, the amount of resources of gas that would waste is far more damaging to the environment than just throwing the fan into the trash. There's going to be damage to the environment. The human race is a disease to this planet, and it's going to become a problem. Maybe not in my lifetime, but in somebody's, and it'll be interesting how they solve it. But as long as we want to play video games and we like our electricity, and we continue to kill one another and kill our environment and kill all the animals around us, we're getting what's coming. It's nothing you or I can do to stop it. Which isn't to say I'm opposed to recycling. I do recycle aluminum cans. It makes sense to do it. But this other recycling is impractical and actually harms the environment. Some of the stuff that you're recycling, you'd be surprised to find out what's really happening with it. Some of it gets put on a barge and shipped to a underdeveloped nation, where it poisons their water, and the people that live around it get cancer. All they're doing is saying, yeah, we're recycling it, and then they just send it off to a third world country, and you feel good about it when in fact you're actually helping to murder people. So that's not all recycling, but it is something that is happening with certain things. Like if you look at where those big cargo ships, what happens when those ships are no longer useful? You should read a documentary, search YouTube and watch that. It is very disturbing. To me, it is. All right, let's see if we can get online here and check for updates. And while we're waiting, I can eject that flash drive. Here we go. So one of the great things I enjoyed about going to Burning Man is it's extreme self-reliance, where you've got to drag everything out, take it all out. Whatever you bring in, take it all out. So if you're bringing in toilet paper, you're taking out toilet paper. Everything. It's radical self-reliance. And you leave no trace that you were there. And it would be wonderful if we even had a community like that. Unfortunately, that community only lasts for a week a year. And, we have 51 other weeks, last I checked. But it would be nice if that was a real community that was around 52 weeks a year. That would be amazing, and it would set a wonderful example of what human beings are capable of with regards to how we treat one another, how we treat our environment. When people throw away refrigerators, you've got to take the doors off of them. Kids have suffocated playing in refrigerators that are sitting out at the curb. It gets a little crazy, It's a little crazy. Appliances are a big one. That's a much more of a landfill issue and an ecological issue than a computer fan. All right, so we're going to grab all these updates. Everything's looking great. Mitchell Morrison joins us. Hey, Mitchell. Where's Lyle? Lyle and his mother went camping this weekend, so having the two dogs together is a little bit much for her to handle. So me and Jimmy are having our own time together, and I'm able to get a lot of work done with the house to myself, so I can get caught up without having to interfere with my wife's weekend, you know. So since she's camping with Lyle, me and Jimmy are just hanging out together. It's just us time, huh, boy? Look at this guy. Look at this guy right here. It's just me and you this weekend, huh, boy? Yeah, we got our us time. This is our us time. Oh, that's a good boy. Yes, yes. Scratch your head. Scratch your head. Where's your brother? I don't care. It's peaceful and quiet without him around, huh? Yeah, I know. I know. No, you miss him, don't you? You don't know what to do with yourself without your brother around. You don't know what to do. Don't worry. You and I are going to hang out. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. He's a good boy. You want a treat? Do you want a cookie? Do you want a cookie? Are you fleeing me? Do you want a cookie? You want a cookie? Yeah? Let's get you a cookie. Let's see what we got for cookies. Here. Come here. It's my boy. Chew your food. Good boy. We gotta get these, gotta keep a dog here to keep the burglars away, huh? Yeah, you keep away the bad guys. That's your job. That's how you pay the rent. Do your job. Killer. Whew. So all that's going to remain on the system once we have all the windows updated. I'll throw the optimizer on there, you know. Just have to put the graphics card in and wire up the optical drive, hook up the front fan, and then the cable management, and it's done. It's a pretty simple build, and it's going to be a very good, reliable, fast, and quiet machine that should be the best trading. I keep wanting to say day trading. He's not necessarily a day trader, although I'm sure the trading happens in the daytime. I don't think that's what that means. And of course, there was a new NVIDIA driver released the other day. So when I get that NVIDIA card installed, I'll have to put that latest driver on as well. When do you think you might be moving to Michigan? Maybe like 2024, 2025. 2023. It's going to be 3 to 5 years, I guess. Probably 4 to 5 years, if I can do it, which I just don't know yet. We'll have to see. Part of the reason I'm going in September is to check out Grand Rapids as a potential, or in the area around Grand Rapids as a potential place to live, to see if it's going to meet what I'm looking for. I really don't remember Grand Rapids much as a kid, and I haven't been there in a long, long time. All the parts that are used in this build are listed in the video notes. I think I've said that about 4,000 times, so let's call it 4001. All the parts for this build are listed in the video notes below the video. That's 4002. So every time I see that question, I will keep answering it along with the number of times I've answered that question. The video notes take me quite a while to assemble, and it's really troubling that people can't click their mouse to read them. Christoph Ash has contributed €5. He says, hello from Germany. Hi, Christoph. Thank you so much. Let me see if I've missed any other contributions from folks. Looks like I missed quite a few. Joe Narciso has contributed $5 Canadian. Piano Instrumentalist has contributed $5. He says, hey, Carey, glad to make it to your live stream today. Just got back from work, working 4 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Michael Dana says, here's $5 for a 6-pack of Coke. Thank you, Michael. Tony Wallow contributed $1.99. Red Dragon has contributed $2. John Williams has contributed £2. He says, here's for your channel. Thank you, Carey Holzman. Tony Wallows contributed $1.99 again. And then Peter Vigin has contributed £2 and says he's still catching up. And he's joining us from England. Right on. Thanks, you guys. Okay, so I got another issue with heavy-handed moderators. Who is my heavy-handed moderator? Charles Fior. So, congratulations, Charles. I am removing your moderator status now. You are not to hide people. I don't know how many times I have to say it. That is not what my moderators are to do. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to remove your moderator status, but you hide one more person, and I'm going to remove your moderator status. You do not put people in timeout because they want to talk about something you don't want to talk about. That is not what we do. That is not the way a community treats each other. You can just choose not to reply. And Charles Fior did it again. He did it to Kenny Whidden and Clay Stevens, and he did it to Plumber Guy. That, you know what? That's out of control. No, I'm not giving you a second chance. You are damaging my channel. And this is not the behavior that I trust my people in blue to behave. This is not. You're embarrassing me, and you're costing me viewers, and you're damaging my channel. How dare you? I've trusted you. If I turned you blue, I trusted you, and you just betrayed it. That's very upsetting. Charles says, but they were getting political. You don't contradict me. I never said it was, when did I ever say that it was okay to ban or remove somebody for being political. I had never said that. I don't know where you think you can make the rules. You can go do that on your channel. You've lost your moderator status. That sickens me. And for the people who got hidden, I'll do my best to undo that damage. I see Jesse Kirk and Keith W. have unhidden the damage caused by Charles Fior. Thank you, guys. God, that's really upsetting to me. I can't believe one of my moderators would be so abusive. It's very disappointing. Very disappointed. Okay, looks like we're all caught up on these updates finally. And I could run my tool on here, my Carey Holzman's optimizer, which you guys can get still for $7 for the next couple days. It's still on sale. Normally $10, it's $7 right now. And please don't ask for any modifications to it. This is a tool designed for me. And what it does is it automates my processes. And the only reason I'm offering it is people have asked me to offer it. It wasn't my idea, so I'm happy to offer it, but I'm not making it for you. It was made for me, for the needs I have, and I don't want it turning into some complicated, bloated tool to meet everybody's individual needs. I hope you understand that. This is a process that I use in a business to make sure all computers have been updated properly and are tuned up properly and consistently. And if you would like it, everything I do with the tool, you can do by hand. This just speeds the process up so that I am able to, like I say, consistently, and these front USB ports don't seem to be working. So I can consistently have all the same settings going out on these computers. I know that they're all leaving with the same settings and they're all tuned appropriately. And if you see value in that and you'd like to buy it, well, we've made it available for you because you guys asked. There it is. Just drag it out here for a minute. And all I do is start my tool, click yes, I want all these items, hit apply, and restart the computer for those settings to take effect. It's just that easy. Wild0001 has contributed 20 Australian dollars. He says, hey, Carey, it's a great build. It's a nice, fast Windows 10 install. Regards, Wild Computers, Steve in Australia. Thank you, Steve. You notice that people thing down here in the corner is gone? Now you'll see if I go to run the tool again, it should tell me everything's already optimized. Let's see. Yep, already optimized. And if I want to undo any of these, I can just right click on it and choose to unoptimize whichever way. But anyway, that's the tool. It's $7. You can do it all by hand. It's nothing magical. It's just quick, it's fast, and it's consistent. And that's why I had it made. And my thanks over to Nick over at D7 Tech. And wouldn't have been possible without him. And he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. They have a lot of other tools over at D7, and you should check it out. There's a link to this one in the video notes below the video. Shawnee Menace says, Carey, you've given me the courage to start my own repair business. I have the experience. I used to work for Compaq in their warranty repair division. Yeah, you've got some experience, all right. Paul Newman says, I purchased the optimizer. It's a very handy program. Thank you. Well, listen, it's very handy for me, right? I don't expect it to be handy for you, but it's very handy for me. Scott M has contributed 10 bucks. He says, hey, thanks for your videos and creating a great environment for us. Keep up the great work. Enjoy a Coke on me. And that's Scott from Flint, Michigan. Well, thank you, Scott. Terry Cruz is also from Flint, Michigan. Ben DeCour has contributed $9.99. He says, hey, Carey, thanks for the live stream and the lessons today. Hope you're doing well. Well, thanks, Ben. I hope you're doing well, too. John Yasuda says, here's 5 bucks. I'm enjoying the stream on my new computer. It runs really sweet. Nice. Thanks, John. Scott Hallinan has contributed $2 New Zealand. He says, Carey, I have a 3.0 USB port that won't work. Well, not much I can do to help you with that. You know, if you guys are looking for free technical support, go over to techguy.org, techguy.org, and there are free volunteers there that can help you. There's far too many questions I have to ask. It would just be me and you talking, while 887 other people yawn, bored out of their mind, trying to figure out why your USB port doesn't work. So that's why I won't entertain that here, but I do appreciate your support. What kind of computer can I build for $1,500? A pretty nice one. You can talk to Catherine Anna Hauserman, and she can put a parts list together for you based on your budget and what it is you need that computer to do. And that's what she does. It's not what I do. Well, I will do it for a consultation fee, but it takes about an hour and a half just to talk to you and figure out what it is you want to do. And then I have to research the parts and then send you the parts list. And then we talk about the parts list and address any concerns. It's quite an investment of time. Is there an update for the optimizer? Just click on the options and check for updates on the optimizer. Thank you for the kind words, Patrick. Yeah, so when you run the optimizer, I guess you guys, I don't know if you're not noticing the option on the screen. And there's an option right at the top left. It says options. Have you tried clicking that? Anybody? What does it do? It's there to get updates. That's why I said the updates are free until January of 2021. That's what that means. But you have to go and check for updates. Otherwise, it'll just consume your bandwidth checking constantly for updates. So rather than have it check for you, you have to check yourself. Just tried to update the optimizer tool and it failed. You can email the folks at D7. They have a support service at d7xtech.com, and they can help you with that. Donnie Seeger has contributed $5. He says, I'm enjoying the build. Thank you. You're awesome. That's kind of you, Donnie. Donnie, thank you. Gainsy95 contributed £5. He says, every time you say cookies, my dog thinks he's getting one. When I say cookies, All I have to say is cookies? Do you want a cookie? No, that's mean. Will the optimizer settings survive feature updates? Well, all you have to do is run the optimizer after a feature update and see what it tells you. It's really not a big deal. I don't know. Why wouldn't you check? I don't trust technology. If I said yes, I still wouldn't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes, and it takes 2 seconds. And if you're all checking updates at the same time, D7 is not a big company, and you're probably slamming their server really hard, and it's going to slow the process down. If you want to wait a little bit and check it later, it'll probably happen faster than doing it right now, just because of that. Red Dragon wants to know the benefits of SLI or Crossfire. Really no benefits anymore. There was benefits back a few years ago, but also a lot of consequences. Now, it's just not worth doing. In my opinion, it's sort of a thing of the past. It's time to let it go and move on. Carey, what do you about the Raspberry Pi family of computers? So I'm a computer technician and I run a computer repair business. Anything that has to do with hobbyists is of no interest to me. I cannot sustain a business repairing Raspberry Pi hobbyist computers that sell for $20. So therefore, I have no interest in it since it has nothing to do with my business. It offers no value to the service I offer. And while people may want to play with Linux or play with Raspberry Pis, there is absolutely not a sustainable business model that I can follow. Those are hobbyist activities. And there are pretty much every tech channel on YouTube is a hobbyist channel. All the big tech channels are nothing but hobbyists and enthusiasts. I'm an actual working computer technician, and as such, things here involve money and business. And so that's why you're not going to hear those things about Raspberry Pi and stuff. Sterling has contributed 20 bucks. He says, I purchased your optimizer on day one. The site was overloaded and the links didn't work. And the person running the sites had fantastic customer service and rectified all problems extremely fast. I love the optimizer. Thank you, Carey. Thank you, Sterling. And I agree. The people at D7 are fantastic. And I'm just so happy to be associated with them and to be, to put these words together, Carey Holzman and D7. It makes me feel honored. And I'm looking towards making another app with them in the near future. That's something totally different. And thank you for your kind words. I ask about the optimizer because I would not want to visit many clients to reapply. The optimizer is not required. If your client were to make changes on their own without your knowledge, you have no idea. If a Windows update comes in and changes it, you would have no idea, nor would your client know. Anytime you run the optimizer for a client, you would do so when the client calls you as part of your service, and they would pay you for that. I wouldn't run my business where I would optimize a computer for free just because I optimized it before. I don't get a free tune-up on my car every time it needs a tune-up. It's just not the way it works. You don't just tune up a car once and you never have to do it again. That's not a really good example because cars don't really need tune-ups anymore. But back in the 70s and the 80s, you had to replace those points in that distributor cap, and you had to readjust the timing and change the spark plugs. And just because you did it once didn't mean you were set for life, and you've got to lose that mentality. You have to lose it. When your customer's computer runs slow and they call you for service, you run that optimizer every time you're there. Even if you just ran it the other day, as part of your service, you want to ensure that that machine is in pure optimized efficiency, regardless of what you did last week or 2 months ago. And if the client's not paying you, it's not your responsibility to go out there and maintain that. That's just a really bizarre way of thinking, and you cannot run a business and sustain a business very long if that's what you think. You're going to fix something once and fix it for free every time after that? No. No, no, no. What happened with the Spec 4 case from yesterday? I'm still talking with the owner about finding a different case, and yeah, I don't have an answer for that yet. It's put on hold. It's in limbo. Well, we figured that out. All right. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap up today's build, or today's video. Have another build coming up next week. Very similar to this one, actually. A little different. I think the same board, same cooler, same processor. I don't know if I'm using different RAM. Definitely different storage, different video card. Still going to be Windows 10 Pro. They need to make a program that stops Windows Update from breaking the GeForce drivers. So again, this is another very common ignorance that's displayed across the internet. It's very disturbing to me. Microsoft doesn't break third-party manufacturers' drivers. They never have. They never have. The third-party manufacturers are at fault. If you install a Windows Update and a piece of hardware or software stops working, that is not the fault of Microsoft. That is the fault of that company that's manufactured that product for not keeping it updated and maintained properly according to the rules that Microsoft specifies. Microsoft does not enforce those rules. Those manufacturers can ignore those rules. And if you're the sucker who bought their product, don't get mad at Microsoft when your product stops working. You get mad at the manufacturer. I'm telling you right now, NVIDIA is at fault on that one, not Microsoft. Let's point the blame where the blame belongs. There's plenty of other things we can point blame at for Microsoft, but that ain't one of them. No, 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 no. If, for example, if the optimizer doesn't work in Windows 1903, then 1903 didn't break the optimizer. Do you understand? That means the optimizer needs to be updated to be compatible with 1903. That's what that, I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I'm just saying, if that happens, that's not Microsoft's fault. And it's a really twisted way of thinking. It just really underscores how much you don't understand about technology. And that's what I'm here to clear up for you. I'm here to clear it up. All these third-party companies have to conform to Microsoft. They're the big thing that everybody else is like this. Microsoft is like this, you know. You conform to them. They do not conform to you. So anytime anything breaks after a Windows update, unless it's a bad Windows update, which does happen rarely, very rarely. These people who won't get the updates because they're afraid it's going to break something, those are fools. Those are fools. Those are the people who won't get vaccinations too, I bet. Cannot suffer those fools. I just can't. What's your opinion of ray tracing? You know, ray tracing just isn't really used right now. So it's just very early technology, a little too early for me. You're not seeing me use any RTX cards. I installed one so far, a customer wanted it. And if a customer wants it, I'll put it in. But I'm not a fan of being one of the first adopters of new technology. It's very expensive. It often has problems that have to be ironed out, and there's very little benefit to it until software catches up. It may be a couple of years. NVIDIA's already started pulling the ray tracing off on the 10 series of graphics card, the 16 series, I should call it, in order to bring the price down. And that is a very good graphics card. Once you pull the ray tracing off of it and the price comes down, it's a good buy. Where can I get the optimizer? So for the 4,003rd time, if you will read the video notes, should I say it a 4,004th time? Read the video notes. Do you know what it's like to speak and not be heard? It is absolutely a pet peeve I have. It's like, why bother? What's the point of talking if nobody's going to listen? I don't mind questions, but when I've answered that question over and over and over and over and over, it starts to get under my skin. Can you tell? The video notes on this video You have to read them. I'm sorry I can't go over to your house, print it out for you, highlight it with a highlighter, and read it to you and click your mouse and take you there. I can't help you with that. You're going to have to figure that out. It's really annoying. Okay. Does anybody else see the optimizer in the video notes? Does anybody see the video optimizer link, or I'm sorry, the Windows optimizer? Would you please tell me if you see that in the video notes? Mike Perrin says, hey, Carey, me and the girlfriend are happy to see you live. It helps with the computer, helps us with our computer. Right on, Mike. I'm glad you guys are watching. Lotta Win says, I thoroughly enjoyed your show, Carey. Thank you for live streaming on a weekend. Well, thanks, Lotta Win. Just had the opportunity and I had a lot of work to do. So, you know, I wanted to take advantage of that. Carey, where can I find the video notes? Okay, that's funny. I'm tired of resetting my NVIDIA drivers. You need to talk to NVIDIA about that. That's an NVIDIA problem. That's not a Microsoft problem. And I can't explain it any clearer to you. If you can't get that through your head, then you're just being stubborn. You're just defending your own ignorance. And that's just sad. I'm just replying to some comments here. It's just unbelievable. There's this entitlement. You know, you can believe anything you want to believe, but it doesn't change what is true. So, you know, don't come at me with your weird beliefs that have absolutely nothing to do with reality. I'm only interested in reality. Marty Yoel's contributed $2. Hey, Marty, thank you. Let's see if I missed any other contributions. Let's see, Sterling, oh yeah, I talked about Sterling and Red Dragon and Gainsey95 and Donnie Seeger, Scott Helenen and John Yasudo, Ben DeCure, Scott M and Wild One, Marty again, piano instrumentalist Christoph, Ash Joe, Narciso, I think that's how you say it. Michael Dane, Tony Wallow, Red Dragon again, John Williams and Tony Wallow again, Peter Vigian. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate that very, very much. And like I said, I'm really working on creating a very supportive community. And, you know, I like to teach a man to fish. I don't want to have to do all this hand-holding. Information is provided to you. I go through a lot of time and effort to make that information available. And then if people need me to read it to them and hold their hand, I kind of get upset because with 778 people, one person is taking the focus, and I'm allowing that to need it pointed out what everybody else literally saw. And it's not to publicly shame anybody, but what I'm trying to do is encourage people to make an effort before they ask. Just make an effort. So that's all you have to do, is make an effort. And instead of saying it's not there, and instead of saying I can't find it, try a different approach. Say, can you help me find it? You know, it's less accusational. The tone is completely different, and my response will be different. You know, telling me that every time Microsoft updates, it upsets me because it breaks my NVIDIA is fine. But it's not Microsoft that's breaking your NVIDIA drivers. It's NVIDIA not cooperating with Microsoft on that. Microsoft is much bigger than NVIDIA will ever be. And as a result, they have a bigger responsibility to making things right. NVIDIA keeps coming out with new drivers every 2 to 3 weeks. What does that tell you about NVIDIA? When's the last time you've seen a network card driver update or a sound card driver update? Once the level of maturity of the drivers reaches a certain point, those updates become fewer and far between. NVIDIA's got a long way to go. They're constantly fixing their drivers all the time. And AMD is no different. Every time another game comes out, why do they have to tune the graphics card to that game? Why isn't it auto-tuning? Why have we not evolved to that point? And every time they change that driver, they open up the opportunity for bugs and other exploits and other side effects, which they have to go back and update the driver to fix. And around the wheel goes. This is not a Microsoft problem. This is an NVIDIA problem. When NVIDIA releases one driver every 6 or 8 months, then we'll talk. But as long as NVIDIA continues to release these drivers on such a frequent basis, I don't know how much more evidence you need to know that this technology is not matured. What other drivers do you get that frequently? The original PC Tech for Life has contributed $5. He says, hey, Carey, my main rig is in a Corsair 100R and I'm going to transplant it to the 200R. I'll probably make a video. The Mugen is too big for the 100. Is it? Is it? I don't know. It didn't seem like it would fit in there. I know the 100 is a bit slimmer, but I thought the case panels were bowed out on the 100. I don't know. If you say so. If NVIDIA fixes all the bugs, what will they do for a living? Yeah, right. All right, guys. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. Thanks to all my friends in blue for maintaining the chat and keeping everything civil. I do appreciate that very much. And if you're a part of the community and you're not yet blue, just hang in there. Keep joining us. I will recognize you sooner or later and turn you blue. I'd love to. And I think that's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I don't know if I will be back tomorrow or not. I do have work to do. I might just force myself to take the day off, though, because if I don't, I don't know. It's just not good for me, you know? But as long as there's work to do, I feel bad if I'm not doing any work. So listen, thank you guys again for joining. I'll see you all again very, very soon. And hold on, I got to find my button. There's my button. All right. There we go. I'll see you all very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.